Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of conversation, a lot of things going on, and already delving into today, including what had been definitely going around on social media earlier today, but a lockdown lift that had previously been in place with nothing particularly found out at Eastlake High School. We'll get into those full details. Also, more things coming out of the city's ethics commission, or at the very least related to it, including one complaint now being dismissed, not one of the previous ones or ones we've talked about recently anyway, but also some other filings becoming aware of, or at the very least related to it, if not exactly in the ethics commission itself here. So we'll talk about that among other things, but also a whole lot more going on when it comes to issues within the school EPISD as we're getting close to that, and other tax rates also being discussed in the community, but also some other things going on when it comes to, well, if you're thinking about being part of a particular investor class, crypto regulations and things being considered for that, what it would mean for anyone here in our region, of course, across the country, as the administration looks at some new regulations, have a conversation with a group that is interested in not even just the cryptocurrency, but technological applications when it comes to blockchain in general and what those regulations may mean. So another full, very packed show for you, a lot going on and around and parts of the borderland region. So if you want to chime in, as we have people already doing so over on the social media, Louis Pinato and Amber Banda chiming in there, dropping those likes and reacts that we do appreciate, including Amber and others, and a whole lot of other stuff that we'll continue to talk about here in the borderland, including another one statewide about a judge blocking that so-called Death Star law. Yeah, we'll delve into that, or at the very least what some of the next steps might be, as there's a whole lot more going on across the state there as well. So let's dive right in that, yes, Eastlake High School has now been lifted on the lockdown that was previously in place as of this morning, after specifically it was a student reported a rumor that they have overheard of an individual allegedly having a weapon on campus. As of this moment, latest information we have is that no weapon was found on campus. So, do believe it has been lifted now, and according to our news partners at KFOX 14, they will be on a modified schedule out there in the Horizon City area. So just keep that in mind if you're going to go in around or have any students or people in your life at that school. And just kind of highlights, as much as we don't usually report on individual instances, but that kind of ongoing concern issue, and, well, it is pretty dang serious of when it comes to the reporting of these things, or people reporting them, or particularly hoax threats. I mean, that's what it really comes down to, the crux of it for me. So, I mean, not going to blame anyone for an overabundance of caution, perhaps in this case, but would certainly hope it gets a little bit more looked into about, okay, so what was the information, what was known? Because my concern would be that anyone thinks that, so wait, I can cancel school by making someone think that someone said something. I mean, taking it deadly serious is about the only way that makes sense to me. And making sure that it's not just okay, well, we will just shut everything down and figure it out, but of going into, so what was the information we know, and trying to get to the bottom of it, I guess is what I'm getting at, because anything else would be just untenable for the long term, I do have to say. Lupinato, I mean, now that we know that things have been lifted, and just, I guess, joking is gallows humor, so to speak. Not quite, because again, no one injured in this case, very thankfully. But Lupinato saying, no gun in the pocket, just glad to see the new substitute. Okay, I mean, sure, you're not in school and can make that joke, but let's just say again, the seriousness that when it comes to that in the schools is definitely not to be denied, especially Van Banda with the rock on. If I didn't say that already, speaking about other ways of getting down to the bottom of things, the city's ethics commission, more complaints have come into this, and some meetings having been gone on already, including from our news partners at KFOX 14 coming out their reports about an hour ago, Ethics Commission dismisses City Representative Anello's complaint over gas card usage, noting that specifically Tuesday night, they dismissed the ethics complaint. They dismissed the complaint on the grounds that there was not clear, convincing evidence of an ethics violation against, to make this perfectly clear, against Representative and Mayor Pro Tem Alexandra Anello. That complaint was fired by one Deborah Paz over the city-funded gas card usage. They do have the link to the full video up from that, as we also have Ida Beza Gardner joining us over on the social media. Good afternoon to you with a hi on the wave as well. But this is not the only circumstance that has been talked about or that I've been made aware of in our area, including a very important report out, specifically the El Paso Times reporting on this today, saying auditor gears up for whistleblower complaint alleging City Hall intimidation over gas card report. Specifically noting, first line with that, naming city reps Cassandra Hernandez, along with her husband, Jeremy Jordan, and former city manager Tommy Gonzalez, all being named as co-conspirators in a whistleblower complaint being filed with the city, being specifically done by a chief internal auditor, Edmundo Calderon, claiming intimidation, among other things, based on the report that has led to these investigations. So in the full article, again, available over at El Paso Times, again, titled Auditor Gears Up for Whistleblower Complaint Alleging City Hall Intimidation Over Gas Card Report. Some of the quotations from a letter from City Attorney Carla Neiman, and in this case, Calderon's attorney, Laura Enriquez, or the letter to City Attorney Carla Neiman, I should correct myself. So some of these, the back and forth, and so this one will be letter giving a 60 days notice of that they're saying that the whistleblower report will specifically be filed within that time frame. So this being submitted back in July, we're about halfway possibly through that period. So there's still a lot to come out of this. And of course, we talked about this yesterday, but just to reiterate, perhaps in this circumstance and in this context, we did have a statement from former city representative Rodriguez, speaking specifically about her intention or lack thereof for complaints that have now been filed against her specifically when it comes to this, saying, quote, "The latest complaint submitted against me is proof that this is a political hit job. Why? Because I am no longer in office. My position is I did nothing wrong and will not be participating in this kangaroo court process when it comes to the city's ethics commission overall." So expecting there to be, as much as I didn't necessarily expect this specifically, this and another different whistleblower report to potentially be filed, or again, essentially being promised to be filed within 60 days of that initial letter. I don't think it was unreasonable to expect that this whole gas card situation, the ethics commission, and the back and forth on it, as much as it has continued to come up, would just go away in any sense of the word, and this does appear to, again, continue to be the case. So those are a few things going on right around, in, about, and involving the borderland as of this moment. Again, probably a lot of development coming on some of these things. More that we'll be talking about. Focused a lot, of course, and continues to be a point of discussion. The county setting of its own tax rate, looking at that voter approval rate, meaning the maximum amount that it could be set at before it would have to go out to voters for approval. Again, it used to be called the rollback rate. Not sure when that changed, but also other rates that were being talked about, including the county hospital district, aka UMC, but most appropriately put as county hospital district in this case. Their tax rate being looking at closer to specifically a no new revenue rate. Though there have been some other things. Not to say that city council is only dealing with these ethics complaints and related things. Noting specifically one thing that has come up a little bit before, but perhaps we'll delve into a little bit later on, that launching a pilot program, again, at the El Paso City Council, to monitor complaints about short-term rentals. Some interesting graphics and reviews of that being coming out. One of the interesting things about pretty well spread throughout most parts of the city, with specific concentration in downtown El Paso, which is noted to me. One other thing I do want to note here, that ahead of Labor Day, and given some of the gas prices, not an endorsement, but just an important note that I think some people driving out there and wondering about their gas might appreciate. Circle K are going to be having a 30-cent discount tomorrow, 4 to 7 p.m. So given that and how we've been having those higher gas rates in our area, Find the full details with our news partners at KFox 14. So let's go and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, our interview for today about some new regulations on blockchain, or specifically the application of it, cryptocurrency. Coming for the U.S., some of those important questions that even y'all have brought up, and what it might mean for anyone listening in pretty much any place, of course, including, of course, the borderland. So let's take that break right now. You are, of course, tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A whole lot more discussion, talk, and more about what's going on and affecting us here in the borderland after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Ruli's International Kitchen, one place that I've been going to for literally a decade now, more than, because they catered our wedding about that long ago, and we've been going since before then, and certainly ever since, because it's the perfect place for the everyday occasion or those special celebrations. Always new features at the front door, both familiar flavors and those international fusions that come along with it. You don't want to miss out on any of their specials, or again, any of those new features that they're constantly developing, or those regional and seasonal features. So if you want to find out all about that, you can, of course, find them online at rulisik.com. That's RULISIK.com. Or find them, of course, 4176 North Mesa, not too far from our studios and not too far from I-10 and I-10 and Executive, or Mesa and Executive. Or just give them a call. Make your reservation. 915-313-4806. 915-313-4806. Ruli's International Kitchen.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An accident in the Lower Valley on the Loop 375 southbound approaching the 10 Gateway. An accident.
Nails, El Paso's newest men's grooming destination, with everything about your personal grooming, privacy, and comfort in mind. Ready with your favorite drink at the door. They offer everything from head to toe, hair, beard, mustache, and hand and foot services. You want to find out about their full services and their great memberships. Of course, find them online, hammerandnailsgrooming.com. That's hammerandnailsgrooming.com, and I'll see you there.
Good news, El Paso. The WorkSafe Texas Summit is coming, and it's absolutely free. You don't want to miss this exciting opportunity to get important information that can help you protect your workers. Texas Mutual Insurance Company's innovative safety event features panel discussions, safety materials, and more. It's free, it's informative, and we're even providing breakfast. So join us from 8 to 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte. Register at texasmutual.com/summit.
I heard about something called the Affordable Connectivity Program. It helps people save money on internet.
I don't have the internet, but I'd like to.
You should apply to see if you're eligible. You could save $30 a month.
Sign up, connect, and save at getinternet.gov.
Attention homeowners, get Choice Home Warranty's award-winning service for 25 major systems and appliances before a breakdown. Call 1-844-674-5971 for a free quote. That's 1-844-674-5971. Limitations apply. Visit choicehomewarranty.com for details.
Think identity theft won't happen to you? Think again. There's a new victim every 3 seconds in the U.S., over 15 million this year alone, and many don't even know they're victims. LifeLock alerts you to identity threats you could miss, even when you monitor your credit. If your identity is stolen, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. Looks like I have a bit of a video error there, so we might blip out for just a second here as we work to remedy that. But in any case, a lot of ways you can get at us, see the show, be because there is certainly a whole lot more to be discussed coming into just about all of these factors. So we'll be talking more about that. Got the chance to speak a little bit earlier in this particular week with our guest that we're going to be having on for you this segment, that specifically of one Christopher with Pioneer Development Group. They have an interesting bit of tech that they've been working on, but also some of those, and we should be back up on all of the social media now after having to do that, again, digital percussive maintenance. But again, speaking with them about some of those implications of regulations that are coming out or being proposed in any case, and just what this might mean. Again, the concept of disruption, decentralization, all of that, trying to lay it out for so those both experienced and new to the concept should have something to get from here. So here is that interview. Enjoy. Joining me now, we have Christopher Alexander, Chief Analytics Officer with Pioneer Development Group. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on to talk about this because the work you all do, if people have been familiar with it, involving, blockchain and the technology that comes along with it, is very interesting. But specifically, what we're talking about here today, and this could affect people both, of course, in our listening area or anywhere people are tuning into this broadcast online, is that when it comes to cryptocurrency, as it has been a subject of interest, discussion, and very particularly, and this is where the real details and the devil is in it, of course, has been regulation on it here. So that's something that you all are talking about and focusing on, about particularly what has been at the very least recently suggested by the Biden administration about seeing some extra layers added to it.
Yes, so that would be 286 pages of layers and recommendations, in fact. And they're a mixed bag. Some of them are, I think, needed to protect investors. Some of them don't recognize the fundamental difference between blockchain technology and compliance issues and something like a security. So definitely a mix.
Okay, so I guess on the balance, as much as is possible, to talking about, extensive documents and, again, proposals at this point, though, it's what phrase or stage would you characterize these current proposals at when it comes to between, just the conception of them and then being in full reality?
Yeah, so they claim they were drafted with industry. I think industry is going to dispute that to some extent, but they're actually open for comment I believe until October.
Mm-hmm.
So these are still available for public comment. So I think the plus side in this, particularly with all of the SEC's regulation by enforcement that we've seen, is that the public does have a chance to have a say in this. And frankly, even if you don't hold crypto, if you're not interested, making sure the government doesn't use too heavy a hand in things is something I think any citizen should be concerned about and should consider commenting on for that reason alone.
Fair enough here, and we'll have some links up to that as well over on our social media as this is airing. But when it comes to that, it's okay. So just the basic idea of regulation, there has been a lot of changes that have happened over recent years when it comes to, I mean, your more popular currencies of name, but of just the concept of blockchain and of the cryptocurrencies go along with it. One of the major ones that I have noticed and certainly has been deployed over exchanges over recent years has been primarily the know your customer aspect of it. So as an example of prior regulation and things coming in on that of essentially having to provide certain bank information, verifying, and how would you characterize this in comparison to that of what is now being proposed?
Sure. So the KYC component, know your customer, is not so much as from what I've seen. And again, it's 286 pages and came up Friday. But
Sure.
The purpose of KYC is your general sort of counterterrorism measures to prevent money laundering. Now, there's some issues with that we could talk about, namely that you can't off-ramp your crypto without a bank. So who really is doing the money laundering in the United States? It's not the crypto blockchains. But it's not so much about the know your customer requirements as it is like wash trading, for example. That's a big thing that they're addressing that, has been illegal in securities trading since like 1936. And if people aren't familiar with it, wash trading is like, what they call rug pulls or pump and dumps, or when you buy and sell in your position at the same time for a tax benefit. It's not legal as a security. They want to address it. But what I find disconcerting and people should consider is they're not really worried about stopping it. They're primarily worried about taxing it. And, I think that's the wrong approach. If it's wrong, then let's have laws and let's enforce it. Let's not license pollution like the EPA used to do, which is essentially what looks like in those regulations.
So specifically the rug pull idea, there have been a few notable examples, at least that I've been aware of, where there has been something that has generated excitement, interest, and we have seen, at least on paper, there being, or in the exchanges anyway, a certain different type of, again, coin or currency coming online that will then reach nigh astronomical levels, and then the either creators, facilitators, or major controllers of that will then essentially, like you said also there, dump all of it, and the people who were interested in investing it, if they weren't basically a part of that cadre that was in the know, will then be left holding the bag, so to speak.
Absolutely, and it's as a company that's built a blockchain and believers in the technology, right? Because crypto is essentially a byproduct of blockchain. It's something we really resent, right? Because we have so much belief in this technology, and it does need some regulation. We do need to protect consumers and people who are new to the industry so they're not taken advantage of. And again, 286 pages, it's a mixed bag. I think there's some good things there. To be honest, my chief concern is, are they sort of hiding anything in there? Or is the fact that they're talking about securities creating a precedent, since they're failing in court again and again and again to call cryptocurrencies securities and not commodities? Is this kind of a backdoor way to regulate it? But again, there's some good and bad in it.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Christopher Alexander, Chief Analytics Officer with Pioneer Development Group. Want to find anything more about them, what they're working on, their development of particular aspects of blockchain technology, best website for them is libertyforall.org. That's liberty, the number 4, ALL.org, to find out about them and the work that they do it on here. So on just the concept of regulation, one of the things that was of most interest to me is that particularly with some of the major exchanges, both prior and current, FTX has become a household name for a variety of reasons, not a lot great in recent times. But one of the interesting things to me was at the very least that one of their major pushes, besides, of course, getting more people on, the Super Bowl ads that were coming out as of recent years and things like that, was frankly towards regulation, and that their very specific focus was on being able to be accepted into things like sovereign wealth funds, major investor groups, institutional investors, those kind of things. So when it comes to the concept of regulation as being something that has arguably been pushed for or being even asked for by certain aspects of the industry, how do you respond to this? And does they feel that this serves that goal, or is that even a good one to have in the first place?
Sure. Well, there's two perspectives in the industry, and I think there's our perspective, and then there's sort of this anarcho-libertarian crypto no regulations view, which is perhaps laudable but just impractical. So the fact is, centralized exchanges in particular need to have rules to protect people because they can bet against you, and they're handling large amounts of retail investors' money. So there is I think a substantial, quantifiable risk and protection that's needed to people who want to first get into this. We want people to get involved and become crypto literate because you've dealt with it. It's not easy to start with.
Sure.
So there's a definite risk there. So for us, we welcome regulation, and I should point out, so does Kraken, Coinbase, Binance, all of whom have approached the SEC in the past year. I think in Kraken's case, 30 times, and said, "Hey, we want some rules," and then they were kind of sloughed off, and then suddenly charged ex post facto with crime. So, everyone in industry outside of an ideological view wants some clear rules to operate by and has asked for them. So, we do need some rules. Obviously, you're always worried when government gets in it, they overregulate.
Yeah, sure. So again, being able to delve through this with these, again, as we're recording, these being very new rules, and again, a very new document to be delved through. And even if you're able to sit through in the course of a day and just read the basics of it, I'm sure there's a whole lot more implications that come along with it, etc. What do you feel about, again, mixed bag with it? Is this, again, more towards or maybe not totally in the direction of the useful regulation, so to speak?
Well, what I think is really interesting is I've not found even the main associations that protect our interests in DC have had a lot of bad things to say about it. But very worried about the devil being the details, as you said, that there's something hidden in there. But by and large, it's a lot of rules to stop aggressive practices that wouldn't be allowed in securities or even commodities trading, and quite a bit to protect retail investors. So, I was prepared to hate it, I'll be honest. And it's nowhere near as problematic as I expected on first glance of, like 200 odd pages.
Okay. So in this idea, at the very least, even just the kind of paradigm, like you're mentioning there about this being potentially, again, entered into, securities and that format of trading, is that something that could be useful or maybe even problematic, since that, a lot of these ideas and some of the concepts, or at very least the high-minded one, maybe more, the crypto libertarian anarchist, whatever have you, kind of aspect of this, about this being a decentralized revolution, being able to be something that is there for, maybe not circumventing, but outside of traditional channels, is encapsulating it in this way, as these regulations seem to do, something that could have a paradigm shift within the entire industry by turning it into something where it is not seen as its own currency, which has had certainly its own implications, particularly with like the Fed, among other things, but specifically as turning it into that type of a quantifiable and commodifiable type of, thing that can be invested in. Is that potentially a good thing, or what is your perspective on it?
Well, you really just nailed the crux of the issue when you said decentralized. So the biggest problem in the regulations, and why I call it a mixed bag, is for a decentralized exchange and most decentralized finance as it operates today, it is actually impossible for those entities to comply with the rules that have been put forward as they're proposed. So the biggest knock on this on these regulations is they do not take into account the fundamental differences and uniqueness of the technology and how it affects operations, compliance, know your customer requirements, and the like. Right? It is to provide anonymity. And one thing for our company and our blockchain that we developed that concerns us is we seem to have been conditioned since the passage of the Patriot Act that anonymity in your finances is somehow problematic. Which of course it isn't. The government doesn't need to know anything over $600 you bought. They don't need to store it and look at it later. These are very serious surveillance and privacy issues. So that's where, again, you nailed it with decentralization. It's a big problem, right? So one might wonder if the idea is to kill the decentralized exchanges and further sort of cement these other blockchains. And exchanges that are centralized and therefore easier to regulate and control.
And again, if you're just joining us, guest right now, Christopher Alexander, Chief Analytics Officer, Pioneer Development Group. And again, their details on what they're working on and their use of the blockchain technology, libertyforall.org. That's Liberty, the number 4, all.org. .org. So, okay, just to really get down to some brass tacks here for a second, when it comes to particularly the underlying technology for this and for other protocols, blockchain, as it has been, of course, encapsulated in, say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, other major names, semi-household, I would argue, different types of cryptocurrency, the idea behind it, and again, really honing in on that decentralized idea, what is it that y'all work with, and what you find the interesting use of this technology even outside of these, cryptocurrency applications?
Sure. So to start with, just for people that are less familiar, right? Cryptocurrencies or tokens are a byproduct of a blockchain.
Right.
Think of a blockchain as, say, a giant Excel spreadsheet. It's a ledger, and you can put anything in one of those blocks. It could be binary code, it could be a picture, it could be anything digitized, and then it's encrypted. Well, when someone encrypts that block, everyone can see that the block was produced, but they can't change what's inside of it. So that's the transparency that people talk about in blockchain. And that reward, that proof of work, is a coin. So you build blocks, hence the term blockchain. So the real power and where you'll see in the future the values derived from buying a blockchain node, being involved with a blockchain, is the supercomputing power. Everyone's essentially time sharing some of their processing and storage power to the blockchain and receiving a digital reward for it, a coin that can be traded on an exchange. So the supercomputing, particularly now when you look at the rise of AI and all of the data that machine learning needs to do and all the rest, it's just the processing power, all of it's staggering, how can I put this, or to put this concretely? Look at the Human Genome Project, right? When processor power increased, they finished it early, which has led to cures being ready faster and the whole nine yards. Well, there's going to be way more supercomputing power than we ever imagined before, as long as blockchain innovation is allowed to continue. Now, lastly, for us, we're very focused on the principles of a free and open society. So we're looking at encryption and privacy applications. And we're also looking at like learn to earn or gamification, where people are able to have like historical experiences and receive rewards for going to visit Fort McHenry in Baltimore or going to the Alamo or what have you, and having an AR experience on their phone. So from entertainment to science, technology, and medicine, there's unbelievable supercomputing capacity and opportunity that blockchain provides. And to us, that's what I think makes it the most valuable.
Interesting. So one way that could be put as the mining people may have heard of, particularly Bitcoin is a way I've heard that referred to as the most here, Bitcoin mining as a part of, again, devoting your personal or available processing power towards both the maintenance of that system, but also receiving rewards from it, is one of the key aspects that I guess most people could have interaction with.
Absolutely. And probably the kind of phase after next, or let's say slightly over the horizon, the value of blockchains are likely not going to be the token and trading it, but rather the number of transactions that occur on that blockchain and the fees for it.
So two of the major implications that have been discussed along with this, and that's kind of would like to get your perspective on with this proposed regulation, what it would mean for that. One has been the idea of there being central, so to speak, centralized cryptocurrency, particularly based on national points of origin. So as opposed to the ones where there's even been cases and theories and investigations into who are the creators of certain ones. Ethereum has been a little bit more institutionalized, including into the, as you were mentioning, other information stored there, such as the NFTs, which we're not going to delve into this time. But when it comes to the idea of national origin, so like, United States creating its own cryptocurrency officially with that, what would you take, at least the initial takeaway from these regulations as the possibility towards that, or from any other national point of origin? Would this be basically setting the stage for that, or what can be told at this point?
Well, we're obviously talking about CBDCs, and there's probably 5 to 7 countries that are seriously exploring them. The United States has been exploring it. There's a task force, the same task force that set up that new it's FedNet or FedNow. Sorry, I forget the name of it, but that new kind of wire transfer capability that went online in July. There was kind of 2 components to what that task force did. The other half was looking at a CBDC, and a couple of the companies that are actually listed on the website as part of the we'll call it the pilot team, talk about using a digital currency like Circle. So So the idea would be that you could use a dollar pegged, so it would be stable currency that would be backed by the U.S. government. But there already are several reliable, what are called stable coins. USDC is one of the big ones. It's backed by, I think, $40 billion by Circle. So what I would say is, why are we not looking to the private sector who already has a completely viable solution? Would be my first question. And then two, are you sure that you're going to do something better, and at what cost? My chief criticism of it would be, again, when it goes back to privacy and surveillance. Do you believe you should own your money and the government shouldn't arbitrarily be able to pull it out of your accounts? A CBDC, I guarantee, is going to allow them to do that. And right now, when you own your keys and you own your wallet, the court has to basically order you to surrender it, and then you have to actually physically give them something or tell them something, and that's a very different form of custody. So CBDCs make a lot of sense for a government, and blockchain is open. Again, this is the irony, right? We hear from one side of the aisle how money laundering, murky, you can't trust crypto, and there they are creating whole crypto systems, right? That because it's in fact so open, they're actually figuring out how to take advantage of it. So it's unfortunate to see them talking out either side of their mouth. Senator Warren kind of leads that group right now, but yeah, I think a CBDC gives the appearance of ease to people who aren't as aware of it, and at the end of the day, a lot of risk to your privacy and some unnecessary government surveillance capabilities that come along with it.
One of the other major questions that comes up as just kind of the viability and the future capacity of this, of course, the idea of seeing blockchain put into a whole lot of different types of things, including, among other things, secure communication. What you're referring to there as keys and wallet as not physical ones, but again, the digital equivalent, allowing you for access and again, storage of things. And this whole further conversation we could have about hot versus, not hot wallets and the rewards coming back with that. But on the concept of just then the viability of the technology, one of the things that has come out is about the energy usage that is required on this. In Texas here, we've seen some very interesting startup companies that have been using the offshoots of oil field drilling, the methane gases or natural gas that come out of it, offering to capture that for the oil companies and then using that to generate their own power in order to facilitate the mining and essentially, stabilizing the network in their own way in that right. So when it comes to that level of viability and just the energy requirements that is done for, some of the estimations on any one transaction have gone into like household level uses of energy with it. What would you say, these regulations mean, and just kind of that question about, is this going to be truly viable with that level of energy? Because one of the upshots, of course, of blockchain is that basically every previous transaction becomes appended to it. So each level of calculation takes essentially that much more over time.
Yeah. So that's complex. So to put it simply, this is primarily or most significantly affecting Bitcoin.
Sure.
Because of the small amount of Bitcoin and what have you.
Sure.
Ethereum, for example, has gone to great lengths to make it less energy intensive to mine. I would say industry has responded to the challenge. They're looking at proof of stake now versus proof of work and mining nodes in some cases. So industry's adapting to this and recognizing, the energy requirements. Those aren't going to go away for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be an exception, and for all the good that you can see in Bitcoin, there's some unique negatives to it. I think the energy consumption is the biggest one. But for your average cryptocurrency, it is significantly less. Like, maybe be careful for SEC reasons what I talk about here. But
Sure.
a typical node that we might deal with in our blockchain community probably costs about $6 worth of energy per day to operate it and get the full amount of processing power out of it. So you do not require intense energy except for Bitcoin and other limited examples.
So when it comes to what the average person needs to know about, again, the technology development and the possibilities with it, and particularly this regulation coming through, whether they may be a hobbyist investor or just interested in maybe possibly concerned about the future of this, what would you want an average person or think they should know when it comes to what is being discussed here and kind of what this brings up then on the horizon?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, look at a blockchain. Bitcoin's the one exception. They don't have their own website. They're technically not owned by anyone. But look at another major blockchain. Just look at cryptocurrency prices. Go to their website. They all love this. It sounds sort of funny, but they all have something called a light paper. It's basically a white paper. It's a PDF. Read it. you would be astounded by what you'd learn by it, particularly if you're an investor. Primarily, you look at what the use case is. Okay, some of these are kind of meme coins, as they're called. They have no utility. It's just kind of a derivative of an existing blockchain, and you're basically a forex trader, and you're hoping that it gets hyped up, and then you sell at the right point. Others are looking to build things. There's a blockchain, for example, that the California DMV's contracted with to put all their records on it. There's all kinds of interesting utilities, and you find those places in these light papers that these guys love. We have one too. So go see what the use case is, and that'll tell you a lot about whether you can rely on or what you're buying or investing into.
Again, guest right now has been Christopher Alexander, Chief Analytics Officer with Pioneer Development Group. Again, all their details on particularly their work or other parts of this, including their light paper, as mentioned there, libertyforall.org. That's liberty4all.org. So, Christopher, thank you very much for talking to us about this, breaking down in as much as possible these complex issues and what people need to know about some of the actions coming up here today.
Well, thank you.
So again, thanks to Christopher for that, and for those of you all sticking around with us on air and on the social media through that. I mean, pretty in depth, but we occasionally do get the opportunity to do these, address these kind of subjects that are a little bit difficult to do solely from the local standpoint, and certainly would have impacts here, and just the concepts how this may go going forward, and some of the topics y'all have brought up at other times here made us want to pursue this interview. So hey, hope you all enjoyed it. Of course, some of the information on them there, but at this point we're going to go ahead and open up those phone lines and take that next break. Right now is that one so some of the technical issues had to go a little bit longer there than we intended. But in any case, if you want to get on that line, that number to do so is, of course, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso and a few more issues that we'll also squeeze in there right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Hammer and Nails, El Paso's newest and definitely should not be kept a secret men's grooming destination over there at the Fountains of Farah lower level. Find them and find their great services available for you, including their memberships, not to be missed. They have, of course, now debuted their Club Lux 24K services, and which are truly the top level and definitely some of their premier services. And for one monthly price, you'll get unlimited services. That's right, unlimited services, access to the entire menu of services, and even get a ability to bring a friend along with you, a free Club Lux guest pass a month. So with that information, you can find out or just book your next experience, be it, well, hair care, beard care, head to toe services. Literally, I get the haircut and the beard trim, but also got some of their moisturizing services. And well, my spouse says my skin has never felt smoother. So if you want to be looking and feeling great, whatever it is that you do and whatever you got going on for you, they have it available for you. So you can find them, of course, and book your appointment very simply. Took me just minutes and was in and out, and again, greeted at the door with my drink of choice. It was early morning for me, so I went with the coffee, but with your favorite brew, cocktail, or what have you, find them online. hammerandnailsgrooming.com. That's hammerandnailsgrooming.com, and I'll see you there.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
With your KFOX 14 news update, I'm Liz DeWicki. Eastlake High School has been cleared by police after it went into lockdown Wednesday morning in the Horizon City area. Police say the school went into a precautionary lockdown after a student overheard a rumor that a person had a weapon on campus. No weapon was found. The Socorro School District says the school day is continuing on a modified schedule and that extra police would remain on campus for the day. Police, meanwhile, revealing more about a man killed this month after running a red light and crashing into a semi-truck in northeast El Paso. The crash happened back on August 18th at Gateway South and Sean Haggerty Road. Police say the Houston man died from his injuries on August 24th. He's the 51st person killed this year in car crashes around El Paso. Road work will begin soon to repair numerous streets around El Paso. The city telling KFOX 14 that up to 50 streets will be resurfaced in different parts of town, from east, northeast to west El Paso, and construction crews are expected to start in the fall of this year. The city also telling KFOX 14 that people who live and work in the areas of construction will be informed when the projects will start and of alternate routes. The full list of upcoming projects is on kfoxtv.com. With your KFOX 14 news update, I'm Liz DeWicki.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Lane restrictions have lifted on the I-10 east and westbound through downtown, so 6-minute delays now I-10 eastbound from Piedras over to the Hunter Viscount exit. Stop and go in the Upper Valley, I-10 westbound Mesa up to Trans Mountain, 15-minute delays. Lower Valley, southbound on the Loop at the 10 Gateway, that earlier crash is cleared, all lanes back open, and southbound Global Reach slow with over 20-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Numbers are going to be trending hotter as we work our way through the rest of the week. We're looking at mostly sunny skies for your Thursday, high around 98 degrees. Partly cloudy skies for your Friday, high around 99. And it's Labor Day weekend. A quick look at that Labor Day weekend forecast. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, highs about 97 to 98. Looks like we'll stay dry for your Labor Day weekend. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's BOGO $1 deal. Wendy's BOGO $1 deal is back at participating Wendy's. Buy a Dave's single, spicy chicken sandwich, 10-piece nugs, or medium frosty, and get another for $1. Double your deliciousness. Hurry, this BOGO deal won't last.
The annoying runny nose, the constant sneezing, the itchiness, and battle just to catch your breath. If you suffer from seasonal allergies, sinusitis, or nagging sinus congestion, there's a natural, easy-to-use solution that can help provide fast, drug-free relief. It's called Navage, and it uses powered suction to rinse your nasal passages in seconds. Millions of people use Navage daily to help provide relief from seasonal allergies and sinus congestion. Medications treat the symptoms, but Navage treats the problem at the source, flushing out the allergens and pollen trapped in your nose. Navage also helps wash out airborne bacteria, dust, dirt, and viruses quickly and painlessly, so you can get back to breathing clearly again. Say goodbye to sinus suffering and hello to better breathing with Navage. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, Target, CVS, Rite Aid, and online at Navage.com. Navage, Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, and of course, Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. You can, of course, find them 950 Crockett Street, right across from, I-10 from Sunland Park Mall. Still Sunland Park Mall for the minute. I was over there today, and it was, still Sunland Park Mall. We'll see how that changes. But Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, their Labor Day sales event now definitely underway, where you can get thousands of dollars off or $1,000 under MSRP for well-qualified buyers with employee pricing. And so find them out on all those details there. A little bit too close to the pin to be able to take any calls right this segment, but we are, of course, going to be doing more on that. And we do have those lines available. And if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents on this or some of the other things going on, including one of the ones I wanted to mention is that the news coming out as of today is that much vaunted, I mean, it's a great name, Death Star bill, or House Bill 2127, which was anticipated to have wide-ranging potential impacts, almost on a kind of case-by-case basis when it comes to state regulation and state decisions and local issues, including not totally. I mean, this was technically a different state law that is going into effect that would remove the ability of localities to have curfews regulating the movement of minors basically in place, and that one is being maybe fought by our city. Other cities, we'll see how that one actually ends up sussing out, but this one having much wider ranging, and the sweeping nature of it, at least part of the decision coming out with a state judge, Myra Guerra Gamble, halting the law, calling it unconstitutional, though I wouldn't call this necessarily the end of it. And that's a Travis County judge, according to the Texas Tribune, on this. And the state is fully expected to appeal the ruling. So I'm not going to try to forecast how I expect that to happen and how to work out as it heads to probably then the state Supreme Court. But I have certain expectations, or there's certainly some implications. So that's at least a couple of things going on, but let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming back, definitely delving into the phone lines, but still available now if you want to get on there. So if you're on the line, stay there. If you want to get on, of course, that number to do so with them being available is 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM after the top of the hour news. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Lane restrictions have lifted on the I-10 east and westbound through downtown. So 6-minute delays now. I-10 eastbound from Piedras over to the Hunter Viscount exit. Stop and go in the Upper Valley. I-10 westbound Mesa up to Trans Mountain. 15-minute delays. Lower Valley southbound on the loop at the 10 Gateway. That earlier crash is cleared. All lanes back open. And southbound Global Reach slow with over 20-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Mark Moss Show.
Cars and big houses are unbuyable. There's big and mysterious news happening with Bitcoin and more. I'm Mark Moss, helping you navigate the decentralized revolution. Listen to the Mark Moss Show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
With the Autio app riding shotgun, every road trip is an adventure.
Autio is my traveling companion. It's educational, entertaining, funny. It makes the drive come to life.
The Autio app automatically plays you stories about the natural wonders, local legends, and fascinating histories outside your car window, with over 10,000 unique stories from coast to coast.
I've learned more about my hometown from the Autio app than I did growing up here.
Autio, the perfect companion for your next road trip. Learn more at autio.com.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food too.
I heard about something called the Affordable Connectivity Program. It helps people save money on internet.
I don't have the internet, but I'd like to.
You should apply to see if you're eligible. You could save $30 a month.
Sign up, connect, and save at getinternet.gov.
Life's too short to just live in pain. Visit the Good Feet store today and see how we can help.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer over 50 different custom window treatments, including faux wood blinds and shutters, all at prices less than retail. Plus, we'll send you free samples before you buy. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale.
Traffic and weather all
Blindster.com.
day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Idalia has been downgraded to a tropical storm. The National Hurricane Center says it's moving across southeastern Georgia tonight. The system made landfall in Florida's Big Bend area this morning with maximum sustained winds of 125 miles per hour. Idalia briefly reached Category 4 hurricane status overnight. President Biden says there's no denying the climate crisis any longer as his administration deals with several natural disasters.
I don't think anybody can deny the impact of the climate crisis anymore. Historic floods, more intense droughts, extreme heat, significant wildfires.
Biden met with his cabinet and agency officials today to discuss the federal response to Idalia in the southeast and the devastation left behind by wildfires in Maui. For the 11th time since June, Texas officials have sent a bus filled with migrants to Los Angeles. The Los Angeles mayor's office says it arrived late this morning. It had 35 asylum seekers from Honduras, Guatemala, Peru, Russia, and Venezuela. Texas officials sending migrants to Los Angeles has become a common occurrence in recent weeks. American Airlines flight attendants are authorizing a strike. Lisa Taylor reports.
The Association of Professional Flight Attendants has voted overwhelmingly in favor of a work stoppage and plans to demonstrate at 12 airports. The union says members have been asking the airline for better pay and improvements to staff onboarding for years. While the union is in favor of striking, members will remain at work until the strike is approved by the National Mediation Board.
The U.S. Government Accountability Office has announced plans to conduct an independent investigation into the decision to keep U.S. Space Command headquarters in Colorado Springs. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. There's a new coronavirus variant detected in New York City wastewater. Scott Pringle reports.
The city's health commissioner says the new variant is likely going around and may be more likely to evade immunity that has developed from vaccination or prior infection. However, the health commissioner says there's no indication this new variant causes more severe illness. These New Yorkers are reacting.
I'm not worried, no. There's always been viruses and things around.
It has changed my habits a lot. Now I'm being careful with the kind of people I hang around.
No, I had it twice already, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, which is trying to be generally careful, but I'm going to keep going.
COVID cases and hospitalizations have been on the rise in New York State this summer.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is outlining her plans for the rest of 2023 in a wide-ranging speech. Whitmer wants Michigan to have guaranteed paid family medical leave in the state. She also is pushing a plan to move Michigan to 100% clean energy. She did not provide any details on how her proposals will be paid for. Today, we celebrate National Marshmallow Day.
They're good on their own. They're really good with chocolate. They're nothing but sugar, egg whites, and gelatin whipped to a pillowy consistency. Ancient Egyptians invented them in the year 2000 BC. They believe they soothe coughs, sore throats, and heal wounds. So you could call them a health food, although the U.S. says they offer minimal nutritional value. Happy National Marshmallow Day. I'm Bree Tennis.
A new Wallet Hub study says New York and New Jersey are among the top states to live. It compared all 50 states based on 51 livability categories. Massachusetts was number one, followed by New Jersey, New Hampshire, New York, and Wyoming. Massachusetts took the top spots for education and health, New Jersey for safety, and New York for quality of life. But they all ranked low for affordability. Connecticut was in the middle at 26. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance at $1,000 and a trip to our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Yeah! Text the nationwide keyword music to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's music to 200-200.
Win your way to our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival and $1,000.
Oh, man, that is great.
You'll be there.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas.
September 22nd and 23rd.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Having the time of your life is more rewarding than ever when you visit any MGM Rewards destination nationwide. Dine, stay, play, and earn on all of it. Details at MGMRewards.com. Subject to earning and redemption limitations applicable to certain purchases and in certain states.
This report is sponsored by The Mark Moss Show.
Cars and big houses are unbuyable. There's big and mysterious news happening with Bitcoin and more. I'm Mark Moss, helping you navigate the decentralized revolution. Listen to The Mark Moss Show on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival is coming back to T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, September 22nd and 23rd.
The most unforgettable weekend of music on the planet.
Buy tickets now at AXS.com.
Listen to Kelvin. What he's about to say could change your life.
I'm 6'2", and I was about 290, and I lost weight fast. I trimmed down. Now I'm about 235. I'm probably at about 9, maybe 10% body fat. That's great. I lost probably at least 60 pounds in probably 3.5, 4 months. Color of my hair is coming back. Skin looks better. Obviously gaining muscle. My muscle mass is coming back. Thank you for providing an awesome product. Somebody who actually has and does what they say they will. That's awesome.
That's great, Kelvin. Losing that belly fat in less than 4 months is outstanding. Since 2004, Andro 400 has been changing men's lives, like Kelvin, and can help you lose belly fat, gain energy, and improve your lifestyle. We guarantee it. Go to andro400.com for more true testimonials, before and after photos, and special discounts. Only available on andro400.com. andro400.com.
Paid for by government.com. Have you heard? Morgan's silver dollars are back for 2023. For the 100th anniversary, the U.S. Mint released the first legal tender Morgans in 100 years. They sold out instantly. Now, Morgan's silver dollars are back in 2023, minted in 99.9% pure silver, but only 275,000 coins were minted, and they will go fast. The entire market and experts agree this is a big deal and an amazing opportunity for both coin and silver buyers. Just call 1-800-473-0864, and you are guaranteed a 2023 brand new uncirculated 99.9% pure silver Morgan dollar. But with limited quantities, you must call now. To learn more, call 1-800-473-0864. Plus, you'll receive a free bonus Patriots pack, new and improved, a $25 value free with every order. Call 1-800-473-0864 now to secure your new 2023 Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-473-0864.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
It's the Woody Show.
Rover's Morning Glory.
The Rod Ryan Show.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists.
Everything that rocks.
All the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
We are 30 Seconds to Mars.
This is Alex from All Time Low. Download the iHeartRadio app today. Free has never sounded so good.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of things going on, conversations, and people chiming in, tuning in, dropping those likes and reacts, and adding their 2 cents that we certainly do appreciate, including RJ Promote, Sean Gardner, Amber Banda, James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores. All a conversation about, again, the topic for today, including criticism, which we do take, with such as Raul Francisco Amaya asking how is cryptocurrencies a local issue? And let's make it perfectly clear with the definition on that. I mean, what we always say is we have other things going on here in the borderland or affecting us here, and certainly these regulations that can be commented on right now, so people in our area can certainly take advantage of or make their point known, or particularly since that this is something that is going on. I mean, cryptocurrency is available. I've dealt with it in this area as well. So it's not present in our area, I guess is the way we put it here. I mean, we talk about state level issues all the time that are not going on solely within El Paso courts or solely located in our region. That's why I say, what's going on and affecting us here in the borderland. Now, I will draw a distinction between things that might affect it, such as, presidential elections and stuff like that. But those are to come. Once we start having candidates come here or have those elections coming up, yeah, we'll transition into that mode, just as a specific example. And this is the kind of philosophy we've always taken on this. We've done segments in the past on, say, what the heck is going on with the markets, which you make the further argument about, saying only 50% of Americans invest in the stock market and even fewer are doing cryptocurrency. So I'm not saying that you are needing to or have to, or that's necessarily there's cryptocurrency immediate local implications or developments going on to it. Love to hear of some, but just because there's not anyone doing anything on an issue that is present in our region and going on here doesn't mean we can't talk about it. And sometimes, again, we get the opportunities to interview people from outside the area that have specific competencies like on cryptocurrency and the regulations that are currently being proposed that would then come into effect for everyone in the area that is interested, either doing it or even potentially. So I guess that's the short-ish answer on it, but other other implications and other people chiming in, including Marky Mandingo, putting it very succinctly, weed dealers won't take crypto. I we'll have to take your word on that one. The only thing I've been particularly aware of, in particularly the states that do allow the retail sale of it, still technically in contravention of the federal regulations, but I guess as long as you don't cross state lines, you're technically fine. But also within New Mexico, don't expect to buy it in Cruces and go anywhere north, south, north, east, or west within the United States. So, Calvin Williams saying we should have asked about his specific crypto. I mean, there's a million probably. I don't know if there's actually a way to count how many different versions are out there, but that's why some of the regulations and the possibilities of it and, well, what could be coming in just the blockchain technology at all, as emerging as it is. I mean, I guess I take it this way on the whole topic. Would it be unreasonable to talk about the internet and regulations affecting the internet? It is something that not everyone has, but is definitely present in our area and has an increasing impact on our lives. I mean, at the point when it started, it would have been like so what is this emerging technology that no one has access to at a certain point in time, and now it dominates. Not saying that that's the same level crypto or blockchain technology is on, but just to say, well, that's not just happening here, so why talk about it? Doesn't quite fit the way we've always done things. We've got sour grapes out there about saying, well, you talked about that, but not the thing I want to talk about that definitely isn't happening, affecting or having immediate impacts in our area. Yeah, I think you see the difference there. Anyway, we have, of course, those phone lines open, if full up at the moment. So if you want to chime in on these or any of the other things we got going on, particularly in our area, like as an example of what else we mentioned here today, the fact that a judge not in our area was that the law that would affect local regulations, 2127, the so-called, again, great name or nomenclature given to it, Death Star bill. Yeah, that one, and the fact that it's being put the kibosh on it for now. Do not expect that to necessarily just stand that way without many further legal proceedings. But again, just if the lens has been at all unclear here, I hope that does clear it up. So let's jump in on those phone lines right now. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. I just wanted everybody to know and remember that Commissioner Holguin was the only one who listened to her constituents and voted for the lower no new tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
Also, according to the El Paso Times, one reason the El Paso tax rate is the second highest among big cities is that its median home value is among the lowest. You can buy roughly the same size and quality house in El Paso considerably cheaper than you can in cities such as San Antonio, Dallas, Houston. And therefore, our tax base is a little bit small, a lot small.
Yeah, that's an interesting argument to be made on it.
The government has looked to the federal government to supply funds for affordable housing, apartments, and HUD housing. Public housing is the El Paso government's answer to affordable housing, not home ownership. And higher taxes and artificially raising the value of the homes is the answer to providing money for their pet projects that the city and county officials want, but El Pasoans can't afford. El Pasoans are becoming wards of the federal, state, and local government. And with this comes a loss of home ownership. They will eventually be priced out of the market. They will own nothing and like it. While our overlords will get higher pay and live comfortably. The citizens of El Paso are going to have to decide if we want to become another Dallas or Houston at the expense of their constituents, or do we want to live within our means and just have a nice place to live in?
Yep, housing is certainly important, critical, and the challenges we've seen with that, with both the creeping up of prices and the continual very high occupancy, both in terms of single-family housing, rental properties, etc. It's one of those continuing problems. And as much as the estimates, when it comes from, say, the in between the ending in 0 years estimates from the Census Department of showing there being lowering potentially of it, again, by estimates, but I would definitely have to say I pin at least a good chunk of that, if not entirely, not being totally privy to the stats and the way that they're gathered, is based on the lack of availability of, among other things, affordable housing, which has been, again, a variety of issues, including supply, both of materials, labor, and even things like the transformers to be able to connect some of the even currently constructed buildings and new ones. So there's a lot of issues there. One other thing that also delineates or is a big difference in El Paso's tax base is that ours is primarily residential. Some of those other cities that you're mentioning are often noted as being their tax base, or at least the tax burden, primarily falls on commercial and industrial concerns. And El Paso is very much not that. It's in fact just the inverse. And so that's one of the reasons it's often talked about building up business, wanting to focus on manufacturing, those kind of things. Not sure if that's reasonable or not. There are certain international trends that certainly do affect us right here in the borderland. The near-shoring or the reshoring that we've talked about previously, that may be something that the region is going to be able to capitalize on. It'll take probably some years, if not decades-long efforts to see that truly come to fruition. But that has been one of those things pointed out as why one of the reasons that we have these debt ratios and those other issues with it is because it's just from the very basis of the tax base different than many other parts of the region and the state.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, but it's also a matter that our tax base is not going to keep up with what we want, and therefore we keep on getting more debt, and with that comes less autonomy. One of the things the founding fathers talked about was life, liberty, and property.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. was the first country that ever allowed the common man to own property, and there was and that's what we're giving up if we keep on going down this road.
Fair enough. I understand the concerns that come with that. So, well, I do appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Okay. Stay well. Stay safe. God bless. And let's go, Brandon.
So with that, we do have some other commenters that we'll get to more here, but let's go ahead and take that next break right now, get a little bit back more on track, but also certainly keep taking those phone calls. So if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents on these or the, again, other things going on or affecting us currently directly here in the borderland, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Texas Mutual Insurance Company bringing their WorkSafe Texas Summit to the El Paso area, bringing safety and compliance information that can help employers protect their workers. Happening Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte in downtown El Paso. The free 2.5-hour event does include free breakfast and parking validation will be provided. So free parking in there as well. It's including 2 interactive Q&A sessions with safety experts, including OSHA information panel discussions and workplace safety panel discussions, including helpful resources and safety materials, plus networking with other business owners and safety professionals will be possible. A space is limited, so be sure to register by September 12th. Coming up here almost in September right now. We do that over at texasmutual.com/summit. That's texasmutual.com/SUMMIT. Again, Texas Mutual Insurance Company, the WorkSafe Texas Summit in downtown El Paso at the Hotel Paso del Norte, coming up Tuesday, September 19th.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Police still working a crash on Montana westbound at southbound Joe Battle. Geronimo Drive at the I-10. A stalled Sun Metro bus is off on the right shoulder. I-10 eastbound Cotton to Hawkins is a 5-minute delay. Biggest delays, I-10 westbound from Mesa up past Trans Mountain, 23-minute delay. Mostly stop and go. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
This week on Red Pilled America, we're going to take a deep dive into the topic of human sex trafficking. This just so happens to be the perfect vehicle into analyzing the current state of conservative media. Listen to Red Pilled America anywhere you get podcasts. That's Red Pilled America.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your social security number or password, for you to become a victim. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to LifeLock.com.
An important role as a parent is to ensure that your kids are as safe as possible when they are at school. And as a parent, you must ask your child's school safety director if they have a Knox entry access system that gets law enforcement into locked doors in case of an emergency. Firefighters have trusted Knox products as their choice for access since 1975, and now the Knox entry system for schools is providing law enforcement with the same resources. You can learn more about Knox entry at schoolentry.com.
School on! Save on!
Back to school is on, and Staples has great prices on everything you need for your best year yet. Save on headphones and laptops. Save on notebooks, pens, and all the essentials. Priced low and still in stock. And right now at Staples, 24-pack Crayola crayons and comp books are only 50 cents each. Plus, select notebooks are just 35 cents each. School on, save on at Staples, where school savings are always in session. Ends 9/16. In-store only. Limit 30.
21 days of beauty. 21 days with daily beauty steals of up to 50% off. 21 days of Slay. 21 days of Yay. 21 days of Are You Kidding Me right now? Beauty's biggest event is on now till September 16th at Ulta Beauty. Discover irresistible deals on must-have brands like IT Cosmetics and Fenty Beauty by Rihanna. Plus, new launches from Pat McGrath Labs. Shop in store, online, or pick up today. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful. Conditions apply.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, whereupon these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments, commentary over on those, and of course, a lot of ways to chime in on the show, either by commenting there, like RJ did by mentioning Farrah and Levi's, now the Fountains and what have you. I mean, sure, there certainly have been differences and changes that have happened in the manufacturing sector. We primarily had textiles. I mean, those being referred to there, you know, the Farrah, jeans, Levi's, still famous for that. Don't know if that's ever coming back, though. Honestly, crystal ball time is, again, super cloudy, as is always, because there's pay attention to a lot of like demographic information. There's one guy, Peter Zahan, I don't know if I ever say it right, talks about demographics and upcoming shifts and how the lightning sown by the one-child policy in China is definitely going to reap the whirlwind in the upcoming timeframes, because you can't really unshift demographics overnight, a little bit outside of our bounds. But the point is that it might be a serious contribution to this whole nearshoring and reshoring that we are seeing right in our area at this moment, and not just from the pandemic. Oh boy, extended supply lines being a hassle recently, but I'll just say that this is one I'm going to keep an eye on and see the continued impacts possibly for our area. But others commenting, including Leonidas Bermuda, saying, I can't wait to buy a house. And when asked if he's being sarcastic, saying, I know it's a hassle, but this apartment life is garbage. I'll say that the constant repairs, or at least you're never bored, or at the very least never don't have something to do. If you're ever sitting at home being like, man, I wish I had something I had to fix right now, then home ownership is absolutely for you. I don't mean to make it sound that grim. It's just definitely been our experience. No leaks that I've found anyway. And now I've made myself worried. Anyway, let's get back to those phone lines on the issues and the things going on and affecting us here in the borderland. And okay, further discussion, including RJ suggesting a condo as a somewhere in between. The only good way I've ever seen, or at least heard of, having never been associated with one myself, of having an HOA. I'll just put it that way. Anyway, getting back to those phone lines now. We do have Raul in the Northeast line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Hey, Ben. Try doing some research every once in a while. Private ownership of property goes back as far as ancient Mesopotamia. They had it in ancient Greece. They had it in Rome. And they had it during feudal the feudal age also. Now, only 13% of Americans have purchased cryptocurrencies, so even fewer El Pasoans have, okay? Now, the S&P 500, by the way, is up by 18% so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
And rather, year-to-date, it's 14%. And 70% of investors' total return in the stock market is from dividends, not capital appreciation, not capital gains, but dividends, the profits that the companies make that are distributed to their shareholders. Now, Andrew, you stated in the past that you studied economics in college. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a minor in it, which mostly leads me to saying I have a minor in economics. I haven't done what I would call much substantive with it, because unless you go graduate with it, it's not an item I put on my resume. Let's put it that way.
Right. So you know, having gotten a minor in economics, that the definition of money includes two characteristics. The first and most important of them being a store of value. And the second is what they call a medium of exchange, correct?
Yeah. I mean, those are why it's certainly important.
All right. Now, people buying cryptocurrencies for appreciation are engaging in pure speculation, because cryptocurrency fails to meet the first characteristic of money, which is a store of value. So that's all I have to say on that.
Fair enough.
It's something that really is not of concern to the overwhelming majority of El Pasoans, okay? Now, to something that is, the Death Star bill, which was declared unconstitutional by State District Judge Maya Guerra Gamble of Travis County. Now, she says that this unconstitutional law, which was backed by Republicans in Texas, House Bill 2127, dubbed by opponents the Death Star bill, and it was backed by Governor Greg Abbott in Costello and business lobbying groups. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I bet they give a lot of money, those politicians, to do this stuff, you know. And it was intended to stop and undermine the ability of the state's bluer urban areas and cities and counties from passing progressive policies. Now, local officials balked at this law passage earlier this year, blasting it as a massive, vague, and unconstitutional power grab by the state that would prevent local officials from meeting local needs. The cities of Houston, San Antonio, El Paso sued the state last month, alleging that the alleging that the law conflicts with a portion of the state constitution that allows cities to enact their own laws. As Houston Mayor Turner on that particular thing called it, well, I lost my notes here. In any case, it's emblematic to me of Republicans, of the way they try to run the show and shove things down the people's throat. If they're blue, if they're Democrats, if they want to have a say-so in how their community is run. And I'm glad that it lost. It deserved to have lost, because it was clearly infringing on local policies and local politicians' ability to meet local needs and come up with creative, innovative solutions to the problems that we have here, rather than trying to legislate and dictate from Austin, which is very, very far away and which really historically doesn't like El Paso. Why? Because we're Democrats. Why? Because we're predominantly Hispanic. And so they've treated us like, a foster child. I remember when Judge Ray Marcus many years ago sued the state of Texas, as we would wonder, how come Lubbock has a law school? How come Lubbock has a school of architecture? How come Lubbock had a medical school? Out there in the middle of nowhere where there's only cows, and a lot of flat land. But El Paso, where we got a lot more people than Lubbock, didn't have any of those. And then that lawsuit found out that, yes, they were shortchanging El Paso. Surprise, surprise, surprise. But this is what Republicans do.
We're having a little bit of interference there, and I think you're occasionally hitting some phone buttons on your phone, so it's interfering with us being able to hear you. But to the point here, and some of the things you brought up here, that lawsuit that you're referring to, I don't believe has actually based on that law, 2127. Leonidas Brutus asking about that, saying, what is this Death Star bill and where's the 2-meter exhaust port? Do appreciate the continued Star Wars reference here. But no, again, it's that, according to the Texas Tribune here, I'll refer to their reporting on this, House Bill 2127 that does grant basically very broad, specific authority to the state to reach down to the local level and undo policies, regulations, ordinances, etc., if they feel they are in contravention of state dictates or other state directives, those kind of things. The breadth of it and the lack of specificity, I mean, I feel like, and still continue to do, this is going to be on a case-by-case basis. And so, to bring it back to the most recent comment, that bill that was actually being talked about, the one that was about the curfew that El Paso is at least being set up to be a fight towards, that one was a different one. You could call it in the same vein, and it often was brought up within the same sentence, if not the same breath. That one about the curfews and making it so that, quote, that forbids cities from, quote, enforcing a curfew to, quote, regulate the movements or actions of persons younger than 18 years of age, end quote, outside of emergency management scenarios. That one is the one that certainly Houston and others, and again, the city of El Paso could very well be on technically the trajectory to, as we did have the removal of that ordinance that had been in place in El Paso since about 91 earlier in this month. But then the mayor, Oscar Leeser, actually ended up vetoing that, saying, no, we actually like this ordinance being in place. It has been of use, and maybe there are some things to be done with the amount of fines, it being a misdemeanor and a $500 fine, maybe a bit onerous for the purpose that we are trying to instill. But otherwise, that we like the ability to do that, and it has been popular with both the community and particularly, stakeholders, law enforcement, etc. So that's where that particular legal challenge is very much likely to become. Though, again, I would fully argue that, yes, it is in the same vein as then 2127, the so-called Death Star bill. And some have even said on the other side of it that, yeah, maybe we're talking about if it's you can do whatever you want, have your local freedom, well, but not like that concept, because I mean, sure, if there's something that you don't like your political opponents doing, that's one thing. But if it's another thing where it's well, you can stop you doing it just because they don't like it, I'm just saying, if a tool is only good, useful, and viable if you control it, and it would terrify the hell out of you if your opponents were ever to have it. And I know there's a lot of people thinking, well, Texas will never not be this way, but it wasn't always this way, even with the current statewide control. I'm just saying, if a tool like that exists that would just give you the heebie-jeebies about anyone else having control over that did not like you and did not think like you, maybe that rule shouldn't exist. And also just my consideration towards overly broad laws should be specific as hell. That's about the only reasonable way I can think to have it, and which is why. And I get that you didn't like that 2127 either, and that you would like it to go away. Just to make it clear here, it's not dead yet, and to call it having lost would be jumping the gun at the very least. It has been declared unconstitutional by a Travis County judge, but the state is very much expected to appeal on this, and so I would expect this to end up before the state Supreme Court, which, given its makeup, demographics, party participation, you could draw certain conclusions from, but only time will tell in that case. But I'm pretty confident about this. This ain't over yet, is the way I will absolutely end up putting that. And on cryptocurrency, sure, there are definitely many different ways to invest. And if anyone took that in the segment we had as buy crypto, no, that was not the purpose of it. There should be no investing doing, even when we've talked about markets in the past, without very specific investigation and knowledge gains on the part of anyone doing it. So, yeah, I mean, traditional investing and the idea, I mean, there's a huge difference even between, investing and day trading, and we're not espousing necessarily either of those here. And yeah, the whole idea of cryptocurrency, I first heard about it back in, I want to say 2010s, maybe the late 2000s themselves here, but I don't know if I would totally peg myself to knowing it at that point in time. But point is that the idea of it being a replacement for currency as opposed to digital gold is the one it's been most referred to. It certainly is. I mean, there's a whole lot of factors that go into that. But to say that, well, what the hell does that have to do with us here? I mean, come on. If people can invest in it here, and just like we talk about the markets or about other nationally present and certainly locally applicable issues, we take that in that same vein as well. So appreciate the point in the call and the aspects of it here and the way we continue to do and maintain the interviews on this show, among other things. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll talk more about these issues and a whole lot more. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number to call if you want to get on the line is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
With your KFOX 14 news update, I'm Liz DeWicki. Eastlake High School has been cleared by police after it went into lockdown Wednesday morning in the Horizon City area. Police say the school went into a precautionary lockdown after a student overheard a rumor that a person had a weapon on campus. No weapon was found. The Socorro School District says the school day is continuing on a modified schedule and that extra police would remain on campus for the day. Police, meanwhile, revealing more about a man killed this month after running a red light and crashing into a semi-truck in northeast El Paso. The crash happened back on August 18th at Gateway South and Sean Haggerty Road. Police say the Houston man died from his injuries on August 24th. He's the 51st person killed this year in car crashes around El Paso. Road work will begin soon to repair numerous streets around El Paso. The city telling KFOX 14 that up to 50 streets will be resurfaced in different parts of town, from east, northeast to west El Paso, and construction crews are expected to start in the fall of this year. The city also telling KFOX 14 that people who live and work in the areas of construction will be informed when the projects will start and of alternate routes. The full list of upcoming projects is on kfoxtv.com. With your KFOX 14 news update, I'm Liz DeWicki.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Well, El Paso police are wrapping up a crash westbound Montana at the Loop in the East Valley. A new accident reported eastbound Montana at Yarborough. Bad spot for an accident there, slowing in all directions. I-10 eastbound delays increasing from Cotton to Hawkins. It's a 10-minute delay, and a 15-minute delay westbound on the I-10 from Mesa up to Trans Mountain. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Numbers are going to be trending hotter as we work our way through the rest of the week. We're looking at mostly sunny skies for your Thursday, high around 98 degrees. Partly cloudy skies for your Friday, high around 99. And it's Labor Day weekend. A quick look at that Labor Day weekend forecast. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, highs about 97 to 98. Looks like we'll stay dry for your Labor Day weekend. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Save on select 3-quart mums. Right now, just 2 for $12. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/30 in-store only. Actual plant size and selection varies by location. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
I heard about something called the Affordable Connectivity Program. It helps people save money on internet. I don't have the internet, but I'd like to. You should apply to see if you're eligible. You could save $30 a month.
Sign up, connect, and save at getinternet.gov.
Good news, El Paso. The WorkSafe Texas Summit is coming, and it's absolutely free. You don't want to miss this exciting opportunity to get important information that can help you protect your workers. Texas Mutual Insurance Company's innovative safety event features panel discussions, safety materials, and more. It's free, it's informative, and we're even providing breakfast. So join us from 8 to 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte. Register at texasmutual.com/summit.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
I'm Ben Ferguson. And I'm Ted Cruz. Ukrainian prosecutor accuses Joe Biden of taking bribes.
Special counsel lawyer in bed with the Biden White House.
And DOJ gives a get-out-of-jail-free pass for China corruption.
So download Verdict with Ted Cruz now wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by Verdict with Ted Cruz Podcast.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Mazer Security Alarms, providing safety, security, and peace of mind here in the borderland for more than 40 years. They're locally trained and licensed technicians able to provide that security for you, and getting your estimate takes no trouble at all. To get your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, contact Mazer Security Alarms by letting them know what you have your needs for. No job is too large or too small. Again, for their $0 payment options and a whole lot more, give them a call at 915-590-0033, 915-590-0033, and see what they can do for you with Mazer Security Alarms.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show, even as we're getting close to the end of it, but we're going to squeeze in what we can from all of our callers here. So one last time, that number to call in if you want to squeeze in between any of the other callers, see what we can do, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And a lot of commenters, including here, I can't say I endorse the plan, but Leonidas Bermuda invoking Nicolas Cage and saying we got to steal the Constitution of Texas. Sometimes I lose track of the comments, and this definitely feels like one of them when it comes to the rule of law or parts of it. I don't know. All I know is that I will don't drag me into this one. That's all I'm going to say there. And other very astute ones, such as RJ saying women. Again, the context, if you can take through it for yourself over there in the comments, go right ahead. But some other ones, including talking about that law should be specific, and now tell that to the legislators on the bench. Yeah, there's other things, and don't even get me started on the concept of jury nullification, but a whole lot of other conversations going on there. And yes, I got the national treasure reference. Why it comes down to the Constitution of Texas, that's the part that's eluding me at the moment. Anyway, getting back to those phone lines now, we do have Frankie and Messia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
I propose spending $100 million myself, anybody else out, either my own money or leverage, and purchase or build or construct a 1,000-unit apartment building, most gorgeously designed. You know, you can't do it in Messia. You can't build anything over 2 stories.
Okay.
And beautiful grounds, a lake, tennis court, just all kinds of wonderful bells and whistles. I would never do it. Not here. Why? Because 90% of the renters are slobs. And they'll wreck this place 14 different ways to Sunday. And there's no way in the world, under the current legal system, renter, lessor, the whole 9 yards, you got to hire a lawyer for $20,000 an hour to get the heck out of there, right? So why should anybody in their right mind, money bags or not, unless they're looking for a serious depreciation aspect, go spend the money to put up a beautiful looking apartment building? That's my point. There's nobody going to do that. They're nuts if they do that. What do you think of that?
I mean, it comes down to a question of, supply and demand, among other things. I would have to say that if there's enough demand and enough justification for it, that the supply will then make itself available. And I mean, I don't think anyone's looking. There was, what was it called? The West Side Tower that was looking to be done at Mesa and Sunland Park, basically. That ended up falling through after there was a bunch of different things, including people being unhappy about the concept of it, maybe being too big, those kind of things being done by the same group that did the initial purchasing and refurbishing and reconstruction for the Paso del Norte Hotel. I think it was the Myers Group, if I'm not mistaken. And so that one fell through. So there have been efforts along those lines, but I will say that from some of the industry advisors, institutional investors, or the concepts of investing in real estate, Texas is not seen as a totally, if you have the options of other places, being a totally viable spot for it, that there are more advantageous laws. The way the taxes are structured, that it's all property taxes in Texas, among other things, is making it seem like it's more advantageous elsewhere. So, I mean, there's always going to be reasons not to, but some do find the reasons to, though the $100 million price tag for 1,000 apartments would be very pricey and assumedly high-end indeed, I would have to say.
No, okay, no, I get you. There's a lot of devils in the details here, but I remember way back when I used to live in your state, there was this place, beautiful, it was brand new. There were little mini duplexes, absolutely gorgeous, just beautiful. And every 90 days, you were required to open your door for a bug, blast the bug stuff, And it really wasn't for the bugs. It was actually the property manager through the owner said, listen, I want you to go in here on my brand new stuff and see who's wrecking my place. And by golly, it worked. That place was everybody just, you paid the bill and it was reasonable. But people that don't own just don't care. They just trash the place. And anybody that wants to spend the money for an investment purpose, obviously you want to make money. But then what good is it if you're going to hire or you're going to offer an apartment building to some slob that then wrecks the place? It's costing you money, which means the rents go up for everybody else. Now, it can be done, but you got to do a serious change in rental laws. That's the only way it's going to happen. And you got to get rid of all the stupid shysters out there that try to line their pockets up, to protect the renters and blah, 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 and all that other kind of thing. That's my point.
And the balance of power is an interesting one. And actually, we had a caller that we weren't able to fully get to here. Didn't want to be on air, but was wanting to know about. Actually, they're having a situation where they've been out of, in their rental property, the one that they are occupying, that is, they've been out of air conditioning for 5 days. And so, not the best. I mean, we've had worse times recently, but wondering what can be done there. I'll just say this. We had them on the show again previously, I think last week, actually, was it last Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to a Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. They had their event in our area about the Renters Power Hour. So there are important things for people to know, both on as a renter or as a landlord. And in fact, the idea of, in that case, you still have to be current on your rent in order to be able to do it. But there are certain responsibilities that it does take for a landlord to then be doing, particularly for, health and safety concerns. I mean, it can get hot enough out here that becomes an issue. I'll put it this way when it comes to specifically the investor aspect of it here. If people are just wanting to make money, I gotta imagine, having not been in the being able to build buildings and try to profit off them myself aspect of it, and given the considerations going on with commercial real estate anyway, I have to imagine at this point in time there are easier, if maybe not, maybe less lucrative, maybe more lucrative options out there in order to, if you just want to see return on investment. But I gotta say, at this point in time, if I was looking at it, if won any of those big lotteries, knock on wood, that'll happen, I would be maybe looking at, property, real estate, doing that kind of thing. But you at least have to have in mind of not just the return on investment, but also of, I would say, the pride of providing the ability to have a home and the livelihood that comes along with it for those that are then occupying it.
Well, your last point, the pride of having a home to live in that's nice by somebody's providing. I like your point, but let me get my final point.
Sure.
This would be a great topic for you to bring in some resident experts, the lessor and the lessees, and people involved in the relative to the rental aspect of everything and the housing crunches and everything, and put them on your program locally, if you will, Southwest Florida, El Paso, I don't care, okay, and see them argue the point. This is why I'm not spending money, or this is why I want to throw spaghetti and ketchup on the wall, just like Donnie Doton, and get them on the program and get the dialogue going, Andrew. I think that would be interesting.
Okay, we've kind of touched on it in the past, but maybe a little bit more on what does the market look like and what are those considerations? Maybe interesting indeed. So appreciate the suggestion and do appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Okay, Andrew, take care.
All right, and time to squeeze in. We'll squeeze in the rest of the calls that we can here right now. We do have Marco in Central on the line with us here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
How's it going, Andrew?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Talk about things that are interesting. Don't be a Renaissance man. Be a thief. Be a lemming.
I mean, we try to bring up interesting topics as much as possible, and still through the lens of what affects us here in the borderland.
That's right. So look, Raul brings up statistics, and next time, Raul, you want to filibuster, at least bring green eggs and ham on so we can listen to you read something interesting other than your boring statistics. And you're like, let me look for my statistics here. Oh my God. Oh. Anyways, look at the countries that are failing and look at how much Bitcoin or Ethereum is being used. Why is that? Because it allows people to still have some form of currency because their countries are failing. So I bet you anything, look at Venezuela. What is the amount of Bitcoin that's being used through there, or alternative currency? Talking about the CBDCs, the reason you do not see the amount of digital currency being used in the United States as far as like blockchain, like Bitcoin, it's simple. We have a dollar. If we didn't have a dollar and we were on CBDCs, I guarantee you'd probably have Americans using about 40 to 50% of that. Why? Simple. They want autonomy. They want anonymity. They don't want to have to be like, well, I want to do it. Regardless of how you're going to use your money, right? But if somebody wants to use it for like whatever reason, and they're like, oh, well, how do I do this? Now, do I have to give a reason for this? What if I just want to do this? Do I have to give a reason for that? I mean, so I honestly do not see the dollar going away, especially since Russia, basically the BRICS country are going to come out with their own paper currency. I don't see us going to a CBDC right now. I mean, I think that was a move to basically stop the digital move currency going global, which I don't see it going it's beneficial. And for another reason, here's another reason that most people don't talk about. What if the world experienced a massive Carrington event? What happens to your CBDCs? What happens to everything? Hello, you're starting over, and nobody's reinforcing those assets. So I guarantee you, it's like, well, you can have the CBDCs, that's fine, but if you have a massive Carrington event and everything goes away, or that would initiate different kind of warfare. What if I don't want to destroy a country, and I'm somebody like Russia, and I just go over their country and launch massive EMP attacks, destroy their currency, destroy their electric grid? You're screwed. I mean, at least if you have paper currency, even if the grid was to go down, there would still be a viability to the dollar, because the hope behind that would be the government still exists. And so, I mean, and then talking about home ownership right now is okay, but what's going to happen when the interest rates keep going up, you don't get rid of inflation? And at what point do you you already have the Federal Reserve saying the problem we can't get rid of inflation is because there's too much home ownership. And that's just all of these things are part of an engine. I want everybody to just think of this, okay? This is all part of an engine, right? Obama or Biden, whatever you want to call him, came out and said that there's a climate emergency. What? I guarantee you they will try to do climate shutdowns. And most people will probably roll their eyes and be like, come on. 2 years ago, if I would have told you we will shut this country down for a virus, most people would have rolled their eyes. And in California yesterday, they rolled out all their COVID protocols, and ding, ding, ding again. They're going to try to shut down their state. So look for this is why the Death Star law seems to be. One more thing here real quick. I'll leave you all. Raul, I bet you that lady that tries to overturn or block this constitutional law, the Death Star law, as soon as it hits the 8th Circuit Court, because that's the district we're under, they're going to shoot that down like it's nobody's business. It will never get to the Supreme Court, Raul. And so why does that happen? Exactly because of what you said. Progressives don't know their limits. They F around, and then guess what? They find out, and then, oh, boo-hoo, we can't do what we want to do. Well, you can't do what you want to do because guess what? Now you have the state, which is a Republican state, flexing itself over you. See, if you play the game correctly by the state rules, because guess who's running the state? Republicans are. If you were in California, you would probably have to run it like Democrats want it, because who's in control in California? Democrats are. And so, again, if you're progressive and you don't like the policies of Texas, I mean, most people say you can have Democrats come here and they will change their minds over time because they like freedom. I guarantee you, initiating those COVID protocols or even climate shutdowns, whatever they're thinking of, you're just going to keep driving people to states that are more free. And this is how you balkanize America instead of uniting people.
I'll say this, we got a little farther afield with some of the international crypto discussion, but again, with the potential regulations that are being looked at and the effects it could have on the average person in our area that may or may not hold or be considering it, it does, lead to questions about it, but I will agree with you on the whole, BRICS currency idea that it's meant to be a challenge, though I still have some serious questions about its viability and its adoption. there's a whole argument to be made that the U.S. dollar is actually backed by oil these days, but that's another discussion entirely. So I do appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
No problem, brother. Thank you. Love you all. Marco for mayor.
All right, and with that, we do have to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll tell you a little bit more about what we got coming up for you on the program, so stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Gateway North approaching Sun Valley Drive. A crash is blocking multiple lanes with a medical crew on the scene. Only one right lane is getting by. Expect delays. Injury accident reported. Donovan Drive at Sunset. Stop and go traffic I-10 westbound from Mesa to Las Muchas. It's a 15-minute delay. I-10 eastbound slow from Piedras out to McRae with 9-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by TurnToSupportsTX.org.
No one gets me. I can't take this. Where's home tonight? Hope mom's okay.
Life can take a turn for anyone. So remember, there are always people, places, and activities for you to turn to. Learn more about mental health at TurnToSupportsTX.org.
Every day, you breathe in thousands of microscopic germs, allergens, and viruses. Don't let these invisible invaders make breathing through your nose impossible. Flush them out with Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril around the back of the nose and out the other nostril, helping flush out all the nasty things that make you miserable. Nearly 4 million people use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. People like Cindy, a verified Navage user who writes, I've had such awful nasal congestion for the last couple of years. I bought Navage and OMG, I can breathe again. I love this thing. Goodbye, Neti Pot. Hello, Navage. End quote. If you suffer from sinus congestion, allergies, or snoring, then Navage is the safe, drug-free solution you've been looking for. Navage is at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and Navage.com. Navage. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
For one night, the tables are turned, the roles reversed. Noche de Estrellas. Thursday, September 28th at the Plaza Hotel, Pioneer Park. Marathon presents Noche de Estrellas, a new fundraiser benefiting the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank. This reverse gala provides a remarkable experience for food bank clients and those who wholeheartedly support the cause to reduce hunger. Noche de Estrellas. For sponsorship details, call 915-224-1306. Online at elpasoansfightinghunger.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk, beyond out of time here for this program. So briefly tell you what got coming up for you. Tomorrow on the show, actually looking at doing another What's the Deal With segment about physical education, PE, and what the heck has been going on with that in some of the local districts, EPISD specifically, having that conversation to kind of delve into that. I've had lost track of it, frankly, with some of that. So what the current situation is and what the considerations are there as well. But a whole lot more, as we're always looking to explore more of the subject of things going on and affecting us here in the borderlands. So I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again tomorrow, as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And as I always say, Friday is always coming, but more local talk tomorrow. So until then, until next time, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, which is another topic we'll be exploring before too long. And have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.